Welcome back to another segment of A to Z with Janome. My name is Michael Smith, the National Consumer Education Manager of Janome Canada, and today, I can't believe it, we're officially like about 4 weeks to the end of this whole A to Z with Janome series. We've been going very fast. And today's Janome HQ Instagram Live is brought to you by the letter P. Now, Janome does have a P foot, which is the embroidery foot, but I'm going to talk about the PDH foot, which is our darning foot. Because, again, not all of you have embroidery machines, so I thought the PDH foot would be a little more universal, because it does already come with a number of our machines, or, again, that you can always get it as in a separate blister pack from your dealer as well. So more information on that coming up. So the P foot, and then my little sample here, again, with the PDH darning foot. And then it is great for, yes, darning, but I don't know, do any of us really darn clothes anymore? You know, we used to darn socks and things, but now, no, we can use the darning foot for free motion quilting. So we'll share some tips about that. So with my little sample here, I was inspired by this Tamara Cape fabric that I'm using, these little circles. So when I was doing my free motion quilting, I was trying to mimic, you know, doing circles, but I used a zigzag stitch free motion instead of just a regular old straight stitch. So I will show you more about that. I thought that was very cool. So there's lots of versatility in what you can do when using the darning foot. So again, I've got lots to show. So down here, where's my stiletto? So this is our P foot, again, is our embroidery foot for all the Janome machines, whatever embroidery machine you have, or embroidery combo machine like the S9 and 15,000, you have the P embroidery foot. But this is the this foot. This is the PDH foot. So again, looks very similar. The PDH foot is very cool that we take off the regular foot holder of our machine, and then this attaches on, and it's got this big spring here, so it jumps up and down. It's like a hopping foot, similar to the hopping foot that you find on the long arm machines, like our Quiltmaker Pro long arm machine. So it kind of hops up and down with that spring. So it's good, clear, good visibility. There's some red markings, perhaps you could see just there on the toe of the foot. And the fun thing is, you know, Janome is always trying to make everything easier. So with the feedback, many sewers were telling Janome, oh, that we've had we cut out just in between those red markings with a little Dremel tool or something, that we cut away that plastic bar in the front so we have better visibility at the needle. So Janome said, oh, that's too much trouble. Don't bother using all those power tools and potentially damaging your foot. We'll just give you an open toe version. So there's the same little red marks, but then there's no bar in between. So this is the open toe PDH darning foot. They're both the same letters as far as they're both PDH. One is the closed toe darning foot, and then the other is the open toe darning foot. Now there is more information on your open toe darning foot specifically on the Janome Bulletin. So again, go to your Janome Global site in your browser and scroll over to the Downloads tab, click on Downloads, and then you'll click on the Bulletins tab. And here is a bulletin all about little tips using the open toe darning foot. This would apply to the closed toe as well. But again, great information there on the Janome Global site. Now, if this foot does not come with your machine, today I'm using the Continental M7, and both of these feet came with my Continental M7, but if not, both are available in a separate blister pack, depending on your machine. So again, as always, check with your dealer. But the open toe darning foot, for example, comes in this cute little quilting attachment kit. This is for the 7mm machines and the 5mm machines. So if your foot does not have a darning foot with it, you can get a closed toe darning foot in a separate blister pack, or you could get this quilting attachment kit for your machine. Some of our machines, many of the like QDCs, for example, come with the quilting attachment kit already, but again, double check with your dealer. But in this quilting attachment kit, we've got the open toe darning foot as well as a couple of other useful quilting feet as well. So then perhaps that's available for your machine as well. So again, always double check with your Janome dealer. But yes, when I'm going to put on my darning foot, if you want to follow me down here, then I've taken off the regular foot holder. And when I go to put this foot on, I need to make sure, whoops, I'm getting all caught up here. I need to make sure that this bar here that's on my foot is over the needle bar of the machine. And this is what will make the foot work. So that bar that's on the foot has to be over the needle bar on the machine. And when I go to screw this down, I'm going to hold this foot firmly square. I don't want it to have it rocked like over to the side there or over to the side there. I want to keep it nice and square as I tighten up that thumb screw, but then of course I'm always going to go back with my screwdriver. Oh, I've had too much coffee today. I feel I'm jittery. I'm going to come back and tighten that screw with the screwdriver. So now that I know it's not going to move anywhere. So there, that is my foot on. And then I'm just going to tuck in my thread here. Now, again, I said on Friday's Janome HQ that you don't have to have a fancy machine like this Continental M7 to use your darning foot. Again, it comes with a number of machines, or again, is available for even 5mm and 7mm machines, that you can use your darning foot just with a regular straight stitch. So right now on my machine, I just have a regular utility straight stitch. And in order to use the darning foot, I like to drop the feed dogs. So here on the Continental M7, yes, I have a button. I just click it and then boom, my feed dogs are lowered. And then it shows me, the icon shows me that when the feed dogs are lowered, it's suggested I use this PDH foot. If your machine, maybe you've got a little lever at the front where your accessory tray is, there might be a lever there, there might be one in the back, or some of the machines like the HD9, for example, and I think the Colorful range of machines, they have a little cover, a little plastic cover that's called the darning plate, and they cover the feed dogs, so that way the feed dogs are not in play. The feed dogs are then lowered, so then nothing is going to hinder the movement of your fabric. But now with the feed dogs down, I can move the fabric in any direction. Now, that being said, some people love having their feed dogs up when they free motion quilt, because the feed dogs grip the fabric a little better. So the choice is entirely up to you. Because I've been doing this for almost 30 years, I started free motion quilting with the feed dogs down. So that's just how I prefer to do it. But so long as you can do that, then, and if that's how you want to free motion quilt, then yes, you can drop the feed dogs down, use a regular straight stitch, and you're way to go. Now, one other thing I like to do when I'm going to be free motion quilting and using my darning foot here, I could use the straight stitch needle plate. In fact, that's recommended when you're free motion quilting as well. So if you have a straight stitch needle plate, you can switch that out. I'm going to leave my universal zigzag one on because I'm actually going to be doing some using a zigzag stitch of the machine. So I'm going to leave my universal plate on. But another thing I am going to do though is I'm going to switch to the low tension or free motion quilting bobbin case that has got a little blue dot, or a little blue triangle, but we call it the blue dot bobbin case. And this is good. There is one specific for the Continental M7, so I want to make sure I get the bobbin holder low tension for Continental M7. And this is beneficial to use when we're doing free motion quilting because the bobbin has less tension. So again, that helps with moving around the fabric a little easier, helps eliminate some skip stitches, which I'll talk about in a bit. So again, we can get this low tension blue dot bobbin holder from our dealers. Now, as a review, when I did the J episode of Janome HQ, that's now available on the Janome HQ YouTube channel, or it's also in the IGTV little TV icon on the Janome HQ Instagram page. As a review, though, we've got a yellow dot high tension bobbin holder that we use for embroidery. So any of the embroidery machines will have this high tension yellow dot. I don't want to use that for my free motion quilting. The red dot is the regular bobbin holder that comes in standard in all the machines. But by having this blue dot bobbin holder, again, it's great for free motion quilting when we want to do that hand look quilt stitch that's very popular. Then this is again a great time to use that that low tension free motion quilting bobbin holder. You can check our Janome Life blog. We've written a ton of posts about doing this hand look quilt stitch, so check out the Janome Life blog for more information how to do that. And you'll see we've got typically two types of blue dot bobbin holders. This one here, there's the little blue dot down there, and this one does not have this little arm that swings over. This little arm is for the machines with the thread cutters that have the little scissor button. So if your machine has a scissor button, then you will want this one that has the little swinger arm. If your machine does not have the scissor button, then generally this is the one that you will use. And again, there's instructions on the back of the blister pack. Double check with your Janome dealer, of course, as always. And then again, more information about the blue dot bobbin holders and when to use them all. Check out the Janome Life blog for more information. Now I have then, yes, a blue dot bobbin holder for my M7. So I'm just going to, oh, and again, more information as well. Check out your Janome bulletins on the Janome Global site, all about the blue dot bobbin holder and when you would use it as well. So more information there. So if you want to come down here, I'm going to switch out my bobbin holder. Now, again, consult your manual on how you remove your needle plate. Maybe you'll use your screwdriver and screw it off, or maybe you've got the one-touch needle plate with like a little lever or a little button and it'll pop it up. If you've never seen this, you must see. On my Continental M7 here, this is a brand new way to remove our needle plate. I have to lock my machine, but then I can touch my screen here, and that's going to raise my needle plate. So I need to raise my needle plate to get my regular bobbin holder out, and then I'm going to put down my low tension blue dot bobbin holder. Now there's a little arrow here of the blue dot, and I'm going to line up that arrow. I don't know, Joe, if you can get down here to see. There's a little arrow here on in my bobbin area, so then I know I'm going to match up those two areas. So there's the blue dot or the little blue arrow of my bobbin holder, and I'm going to match it up. There's the little arrow that's on my machine. So I want to make sure those two arrows are side by side, and then that way I know the bobbin holder is nice and flat. It's kind of locked into place. Nothing is going to move on me. And then I'm going to snap in. Now again, typically when I do free motion quilting or when I use rulers, and coming up on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about ruler quilting on Janome HQ. So then I'm going to go over more about using the straight stitch needle plate, but I'm going to use a zigzag stitch that's built into the machine. So that's why I'm leaving my universal zigzag needle plate on. So now that that's in there, I can put in my bobbin and away we go. So lock that into place. Fabulous. So typically when we're going to be darning, if we had like a hole in our jeans, for example, and darning is usually just, I would with thread go in a zigzag fashion, you know, to cover that hole. I would go down one way and then I would go up the other way, like at a 90 degrees. So I'm basically kind of weaving with thread in order to cover that hole. I could certainly put a piece of fabric, you know, under it, or a stabilizer to help support all that thread. Normally when I patch jeans, you know, I always put a piece of fabric over the top and then just top stitch it down. But in this case, I thought, oh, it would be fun to put a piece of fabric under it. I could even put a piece of batting under that to help like support it. And I could use in a free motion fabric, moving my fabric back and forth, then I can help feather that edge, cover that edge with stitches. So I did a little sample here. And depending on your fabric, now if your fabric was more textured, more lofty, maybe like a knit fabric, you might put a piece even of water-soluble stabilizer on top of your patch. And of course, where I got the water-soluble stabilizer, as always, my Madeira Stabilizer Starter Pack that has a choice of stabilizers in it. There's 12 different stabilizers in the pack, 4 different kinds of water-soluble stabilizers. So I love using that, and then I would just put the water-soluble stabilizer on top. And I just did with a very quick zigzag, as I manipulated my fabric around, then I secured that raw edge down while putting my patch on, securing that. And then with the water-soluble stabilizer, I could just easily rip it away from my patch. And there, so the raw edges are all completely covered. I could certainly do it in matching thread, so I'd never see it. In this case, I used our iris embroidery thread, so then I can see it as a decorative element. And then on the back side, I've already started doing this. I use my curved embroidery scissors. These ones are great because they say Janome. But I love using these curved embroidery scissors so then I can go in there and trim away this excess fabric really close to that stitching, and of course all that zigzag stitches stops this fabric beneath it, you know, from raveling. So I could certainly apply a patch that way and it would be something cool and different. And then I did another sample here and again did the like this feathery zigzag with free motion, and then even this looks like I thought it looked like heartbeats, you know, as you see those monitors of zigzag and then it kind of flat lines and then zigzag, so that reminded me of a heartbeat. So there's lots of like fun things you can do using your darning foot. And then, of course, I went down the rabbit hole, as I call it, of ideas were just like churning in my head. And I thought this is kind of like reverse applique in that I trim my base layer of fabric, in this case, the denim. I trimmed this little rectangle away, and then I put a piece of fabric behind it. I even put batting behind it to give it more stability. And then I was just experimenting. This is the first time I did this, so I'm going to refine the technique more. But then I was just experimenting doing this zigzag all around to stop any, you know, raveling of the denim. And then it was affixing my yellow fabric, my fabric underneath, to the patch. So this could be a patch for, you know, a pair of jeans, or maybe this could be like a tote bag or another, you know, table runner or something like that. I was thinking of the clothing, you know, way back in the, you know, medieval times when the slashing of the clothes was popular, and then they'd have another piece of fabric underneath it. If you love Gone with the Wind like I do, Scarlett's mother has a dress, big puffy sleeves that are slashed like that, and there's another contrasting fabric underneath it. So I thought this would be a cool application for that. So just very fun, just to experiment, to have some fun with your machine. So I love using, when I'm doing free motion quilting, to give me some better grip on my fabric, I love using these gripper gloves. And again, there's many different kinds, so check with your dealer. Perhaps they stock something like this that have some little rubberized grips on the fingers that help you grip your fabric. And then you don't have to worry about damaging your manicure either. So that's always good. Now in my machine, it's a personal preference. I love using this is our Iris cotton quilting thread, which is a 50 weight. So I love using that with regular cotton thread for quilting. But again, it's personal preference. I love using our Janome purple tip needles, which are a size 14, but the Again, this is a review from our Janome HQ presentation. And again, go back to the Janome HQ YouTube channel to review. The purple tip needles are a size 14, but they have that cobra head just before the eye of the needle. The head of the needle flares out a little, so that helps spread the fibers of the fabric, so then the needle thread can more readily reach down and grab the bobbin thread. So they help eliminate skip stitches. So again, that's often an issue when people are free motion quilting. So with the combination of using the low tension bobbin holder, the blue dot bobbin holder, and the purple tip needle, then I really don't need to worry about skip stitches as much. They really help eliminate that. So again, it's a personal preference. You find out what works best for you. But again, that's what I like using. So again, I've got my straight stitch, my feed dogs are down. When you do your practice sandwiches, make a whole bunch of little sandwiches like this. So I've got my backing and my batting, whatever batting you want to use, and my top fabric. To hold my layers together, I love using our artistic tack spray. These you can check with your Janome dealer. The artistic tack spray I love because it's got very low VOCs, so that's the volatile organic compound, so it's low on that. A little goes a long way. I don't have to worry about, stinking up my whole house or running outside to use it. So that's why I like to hold these layers together, so I don't have to use like safety pins or anything to hold them together. And I like just doing one needle up, down, or down, up, so I can pull up. I'll do that one more time. Pull up my bobbin thread. That's ever so little. And there, do I have, whoops. Bobbin thread can be little there. So I pulled up my bobbin thread, so that way I don't need to worry about having like a bird's nest on the back side of my quilt, or I don't have to go back and trim it off later. Now when I try to use my foot pedal, then it says raise the feed dogs and start. It's just giving me a warning sign, but no, I don't want to raise the feed dogs. I want to purposely have them down so I can freely move my fabric in whatever direction I want. And again, like everything else, practice, practice, practice. I find that having the machine go faster, but you're moving your hands slower, generally works well to have, as we call it, the sweet spot. You need to experiment and what works best for you to find that sweet spot. So I'm just going to practice doing some little pebbles around and around as a background fill. But you can choose to do whichever you wish. As a little sample here, I've got, if you're going to do like the stippling, meandering, for example, certainly try that. Or these loops, doing like a letter E. If you think back to when you were practicing writing as a kid, then you do a little E and a big E and a little E and a big E. So there's lots just to help relax your shoulders, make sure to breathe while you're doing free motion quilting. Then you just get into practicing and just get more relaxed before you start doing your big project.
Evelyn wants to know, is this the foot that she would use with her 6700P and her Gracie frame?
You certainly could. Now with your 6700, you've got a couple of different free motion quilting choices that came with your machine. So you could use any of those that came with your machine, or yes, you could certainly use this darning foot with the machine as well. It's, again, a personal preference. I'm using the darning foot specifically just because, again, it's more universally available for the most variety of machines. Now, you'll see on the back of my sample, I see a little bit of my top thread, which, again, is why this is using the regular bobbin holder, the regular red dot that comes with the machine. So I did not switch to the blue dot bobbin holder, but this is why I recommend switching to the blue dot bobbin holder, because then you won't have these pokies, basically. This is the regular bobbin holder with that has the regular tension, and it's pulled a little bit of my needle thread to the backside. But by having the low tension, low tension blue dot bobbin holder, then we won't get as much as that. We really won't get any of that because, again, that's got a lower tension. It's not pulling that needle thread to the back. Now, I find if you're still using that the purple tip needle and you're using your blue dot bobbin holder, and if you still see a little bit of that eyelashing, a little bit of those pokies, generally they're around, as you see in my case too, they're around when I do the curves, when I go around the corners. And I find when people are free motion quilting, they're generally doing exactly that. They're stitching along and then they rev up really quick and go around the corner. Then once they're around the corner, they slow down, and then they go really fast around the corner, and then they go slower once they pass the corner. So that's more likely to get those pokies or that eyelashing. So if you slow down around your corners and you're trying to keep a consistent speed of your machine, even as you're going around corners and as you're changing direction, you know, doing your stippling or whatever, you're trying to keep a more consistent speed. Pardon?
You're going to run out.
Oh, I am going to run out of thread. Okay. Then this is a good time to, I'll just cut my thread. And then maybe I should quickly change my thread. I need something that's going to show. Oh, this is not, yes, I could use that. This is not quilting thread. This is embroidery thread, but again, I can use it too. And then I'm going to lock my machine. There we go. Okay, and unlock it. Perfect. Okay, so then, yes, I will show this zigzag stitch. So again, there's my beautiful sample as you're just practicing. Practice to try to have a consistent stitch length. Basically, you're controlling, you're the stitch regulator. So you're going to control the stitch length. And I can see here around my curves, again, I've got smaller stitches because just as I went around the curve, I moved a little slower. But then again, that's what I was demoing. Going really fast around the curve, I've got bigger stitches and then I'm slowing down. So again, you want to try to keep it consistent so you avoid having really long stitches and then really short stitches. But you can see here at the back, I don't see any of those pokies though. By having that low tension blue dot bobbin holder, that really helped eliminate that. Now, a good first project as well, I thought it was great coincidence. If you go to our Janome Life blog, on Friday's blog, Kim Jameson Hurst from Chatterbox Quilt did a great blog post about free motion quilting, and she did this cute little flower and leaves. And I was inspired even by that. Then I added like some grass to mine. I added some clouds. But yes, I used the PDH foot. So check out the Janome Life blog. That was just on Friday, was what, June 12th, that Kim wrote that blog post. So she is another great resource too. She's one of our Janome Canada artisans, Kim Jameson Hurst from Chatterbox Quilts. So she's written many blogs about free motion quilting as well. So yes, to do this zigzag stitch. Now again, if I have just a regular machine, any old regular zigzag, then I can do free motion quilting with that as well. So again, I'm just going to raise up my bobbin. And again, the feed dog's going to tell me, hey, you need to raise the feed dogs, but no, I don't want to. But I thought this was a very cool way to do circles, and if I want to go back and make it look like more of a satin stitch, I can go back over it a couple of times. I can also change the width of the zigzag in the machine. But I thought that was a really fun thing to do instead of just using a regular straight stitch. Now, if you had your straight stitch needle plate on, you could do a zigzag. You would just move your fabric more as a zigzag. So it's a really cool thing. It's like, whatever, just go experiment with your machine. Now, I will point out, and I see already I'm talking too much, if I can go, now some of our machines, like the Skyline S7, S9, 9400, 9450, 15000, Continental M7, we have the sewing applications menu. So I can click my t-shirt, and then I can go into my quilting and decorative stitches category, and I've got a free motion quilting. The sewing applications is our machine asking us, what would you like to do? So I can click free motion quilting, and already my feed dogs are down. The machine is already set up for me. So it's just less that I have to do. Now, the one thing that sewing applications has is this cool, it's a one stitch stop function. So I can select that, which it is, the needle with the little dot next to it. So when I want to raise my bobbin, it does one stitch. I have my foot on the foot pedal, and it does one stitch, and that raises up my bobbin thread automatically. This is the same like one stitch stop that we have built in to our embroidery machines. So once I raise up my bobbin thread, then again I can start stitching, and then once I get away from my bobbin threads, then I clip those to get rid of it. So it just keeps my quilting neater, and then I can again go around and do whatever I want to do. I'm going to just raise that, and again I've got one of my selections of straight stitch, or again that cool zigzag that I thought was really fun, and then away I go. And then again, you choose to do however dense you want that zigzag to be. But I thought, again, as I did my patches, and what a cool way it is to, again, like feather around the edge of that patch. So it's just what you experiment with. On Wednesday's show, when I talk about ruler quilting, I'm going to talk about how to do this variable zigzag, as it's called, which is very much akin to using like your PDH foot for free motion quilting. I'll show you about variable zigzag, which is also one of your sewing applications in some of the machines as well. So it's a little bit more specialized, but it's doing that same kind of thing of using free motion, feathering that edge. So it's amazing of what you can use with your machine and the various feet. Now, just very quickly, when I want to end my quilting, whatever I'm doing, I'll show you, this is what I often do to finish my quilting, to raise up my bobbin thread. That this is a technique I use on my long arm, so that's why I thought it would be fun to show. So after I'm done my quilting, I'm going to raise my foot, and then I'm going to take my project away. I'm going to pull it away from me and grab a hold of my needle thread, because I want to make like a big loop. Then I'm going to take my project back to where I stopped, and I'm going to drop the needle in the fabric and then raise it up again. And then, if you see there, there's the loop of my bobbin thread. So I bring that up, and then now I can clip that loop and clip my needle thread off, and it's very nice and neat. And then it's very nice and neat at the back as well. There's no, lump. And I generally, when I free motion quilt, I don't use the scissor button, because then that'll leave, there I did it just for speed. But then that'll leave that little tail on the end, which I personally don't like. Yes, you can trim that off later. But again, I just try to save doing that. So I like raising the bobbin thread when I finish, and that way I clip it off at the top, and that way my project's nice and neat at the back. So again, any questions? I know that went by so fast. Oh my gosh, so much information to share. But the nice thing about, again, that in a couple of days I will post this up to the Janome HQ YouTube channel, so you can go back to review it as well. You can go and review this on the Janome HQ IGTV icon on the Janome HQ Instagram page. So yes, any question? Yes, Tanya's been answering some questions, which are fantastic. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, enjoying the videos. I love it. Oh, thank you. Yes, so much information. Woo. But then this is where, too, going forward, you know, as things are slowly starting to open up in Ontario, I don't know when exactly on the... when we're going to be opening for classes at the Janome Sewing and Learning Center in Oakville. But to get on that list for classes at the Janome Sewing and Learning Center in Oakville, Ontario, you can write to me an email, classes@janome-canada.com. So again, that's classes@janome-canada.com. To be put on the class list. And then I'm going to be looking at doing some online classes from the Sewing and Learning Center. I'll be filming down there, but then those classes would be available online. So that's still in the beginning stages right now, but again, we're looking at getting all this information out to you in a little, that would be in a little more lengthy format than just in the Instagram lives, because again, the time goes by so fast. That's a little taste to whet your appetite. So yes, okay, thank you all so much for joining me. I will see you all, I will see you all back here on Wednesday at Janome HQ. Tomorrow, though, at Janome Canada, ooh, is it Celine talking about... No, I think it's Kim Jameson Hurst is tomorrow at Janome Canada at 1 o'clock. Liz just posted the schedule, though. Every Monday she's been posting a schedule on Janome Life. So then you can get the heads up of what's coming up at Janome Canada's Instagram Live at 1 o'clock, and then what's happening at Janome HQ Instagram Live at 1 o'clock. So again, make sure you subscribe to or follow Janome Life so you get those notification emails.
Evelyn's in Wasaga.
Evelyn, you're in Wasaga Beach? Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were that close. That's awesome. We're neighbors. Fabulous. So again, today's Janome's HQ Instagram Live is brought to you by the letter P, specifically for the PDH feet, the open toe and closed toe darning foot. So I will see you all again Wednesday at 1 p.m. So thank you all for joining me. Have a fabulous day. Thank you. Bye.